Yo, what's happening? Andy's Crypto Talk. Not financial advice, just here to shoot the shit and chat while we're over 110k Bitcoin. Cloudy the second, and this is Cloudy the third building up here. I'm just gonna share the stream real quick. Let me just share it on Telegram and X. What I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna share the profile. Share this link out. That's a smarter way to do it. Get some engagement on X, please, if you guys can. I would appreciate that. Throw me a follow, like, comment, whatever you want to do. And we'll get started right away here. Quick sort of intro. I did call this one out right around here. This area here, I called it out. I think we were right around here. But you had a chance to get in and ride this wave as well. Apex AI. AI meets cancer detection. They've got some patents and stuff, precision above 95%. I mean, if it's legit, it could be a grift, but if it's legit, this thing could be massive. It did launch on Pump Fund though, so just ape accordingly, because they do have 40% of the supply that they're holding for the team, so just keep that in mind. Anyways, as always, non-financial advice. We're just going to go over the charts. I wanted to do an update video with everybody just because we hit the all-time high, and that's a good time to sort of chat about, you know, what do we think's happening next? Where do we think this is going? I mean, I've already kind of got the outline out on the charts for you guys here. I don't think this yellow one's in play anymore. Because if we see this go down, I'd say under this yellow line right at 100k we have marked, even though around here is kind of in a pretty good invalidation, is if it loses this again, this trend line. This is an old trend line that we have on here from the start of that last rally. It lost it and regained it. I'd say right around there, that's kind of where we don't want to see it lose. Because eventually, like this, all these trend lines will catch up to the price here. But yeah, let's take a look. Because right now, like on the monthly, you know, it looks super bullish. So we're hoping that it closes up here. If it can close up here in the month, then this thing's gonna go hella crazy. Weekly, we had the highest weekly close up at 106. We're pushing up from that. As you can see, we're at all-time highs. You know, I'm looking on this BitGet perpetual, but honestly, like if you look at every chart, it's up above. This move from the lows was just no room to enter. This didn't give people any chance for entry. So that's what makes me feel like this rally is going to continue, is because it's given no chance for entries. I don't think it gives a chance for an entry here. Like, why would it give a chance for an entry at all-time highs now? It makes no sense to do that. So probably just continue up on this trajectory. This is the 3-day. But we could go down to the daily and make it a little more accurate. I think that's pretty close, though. Yeah, it looks like it's pretty close. A little steeper than what I had. But yeah, so that's kind of the trend line I would follow now. You know, I personally, again, I've got targets up here. That's where the squiggle goes. right? 180K area. A lot of people saying 180K for this cycle high. Does it do it all in one stretch? I mean, it's totally possible, considering BTC does 80% of its moves in like a 10 or 20 day span. So you just have to keep that in mind, that BTC can move non-stop, like it's done from this bottom, right? Just non-stop. They don't give a chance for an entry, right? Because once it, like, you look at this and it moved up, it did give one entry, but then from there it basically just moved up in a straight line. And then when you thought it was giving you an entry, it was actually a potential chance for lookout, and that's when it went down. So it does some schizo-y stuff. Just, you know, you got to pay attention to that. But I think we're on this sort of trend. You know, we're moving, like I said, I was saying grind up into the all-time highs, then we'll do one little fuck around, and then we're gonna send, right? And I think we're at the point where right now, probably on a lower time frame, we're gonna do a little bit of fucking around, which is what we're kind of seeing. You know, we had massive candle up and then stuffed down to, you know, 110. It's not much though, like it's not correcting much, and I think it just kind of makes a little bit of a W here, and then continues on up, which we already see forming. So yeah, just this is where I would look for some plays. It could potentially flag though, and do something like that as well. So just keeping an eye on the plays, whether it's coming sooner or later. I think all-time high price discovery motion on BTC is going to be pretty crazy, and the whole adagio that sell in May and walk away it's not happening this year, as far as it looks like, right? From sort of beginning of May here, it's gone, price has gone up only. So I would get that seasonality sort of scripture out of your mind for this one, because we're pushing past all-time high, and this is where you want to pay attention to stuff. Not just BTC, but of course everything else as well is going to start becoming very volatile. Now, does that mean up and down? I don't know, because it depends on, you know, what you hold and things like that. But at the end of the day, you do want to pay attention that there will be lots of volatility, and it might shake you out of your position before something sends up to the moon, right? So just definitely, I've made the mistake myself, and just try not to make the mistake that the market tries to rip away, you know, your conviction right before it actually takes off to the moon. So yeah, I would stay vigilant for something, potentially even wiki down to this, you know, 107 region. You know, we could make a dip down. That's the less likely scenario in my books. More likely is we just continue grinding up this. That's at least what I believe. Now this, of course, this trend that we have, that we're following, it is very steep. It could eventually, you know, taper out to something like this, and then continue. But honestly, like at this point, I don't think we consolidate a lot here. You know, maybe like a week tops. It could honestly, this coming up week could be even weekend. That's the one thing I would say, is the weekend could actually become bullish now, and we could eventually see a push up to 120 quite quickly, and then continue on from there. But yeah, just definitely keeping your eye on a little bit shorter time frames than you were. Like if you were on daily, go down to the 4 hours. Just kind of, you know, you can pay attention a little bit better. You'll have a little more resolution. We might just end up flagging right up here like this, right? And just kind of have that sideways consolidation. That's the one thing I wouldn't like to see is something like that. We'd rather see something like this, forming here with the flat tops and the higher lows, and then kind of work its way out of that. So yeah, BTC is looking great. Congrats, guys. We made it. We're on the path to the gates of Valhalla, and we're all going to be zillionaires at the Citadel. Speaking of Citadel, let's actually chat about that one because it's made some major major progress in the past couple days, I would say, just from the bottoms here. Let's look at the daily. And I do want to show you guys a chart. I'm going to take some drawings off for now, though, just so we can see this, like how buried this thing got, right? So it got brought down into this sort of zone of volume. And we can see that on the VPVR, which, you know, we're entering back into that base of volume and pushing up through it. This is kind of the hardest part, and we can see that based off 1, 2, 3 attempts at this sort of zone right here, right around 3 million is what I have marked out. And it did deviate one time underneath sort of the 1.3 mil lows here that we kept bouncing up off of. And then, of course, the one thing that we always look at, these are beautiful patterns to pay attention to. This sort of inverted head and shoulders is now looking really quite nice with a higher low. Now we just want to see a higher high forming right here, and that's kind of off to the races. Consolidating above that 3 mil would be beautiful, and this thing would look like it's gonna want to push pressure on making these moves up into its all-time highs. Eventually, it might not take 2-3 days. It might take a few weeks from here to reach the all-time high. But that having been said, this move, once it broke that 3-4 mil mark, happened very quickly. So I would just pay attention to that there is very little holding us back up in these upper areas. So this next move could actually take a lot less time than I'm anticipating. What I've marked out is to kind of like end of July, but I don't know if that's the case. That having been said, good TA will put you in the same place as good fundamental analysis. This is something Kazanomics taught me, that we could see this right around release of the Seeker, because there is chat about getting the OTC desk on the DApp store, so they are attempting to get that on there. So to see sort of these all-time highs reclaimed by around that time, I think would be absolutely stellar. Even if we don't get that high, like even if this chart only gets up into this 25-30 mil range in that time frame, I think from there it could go really quite exponential, up into those higher targets that I have marked on here, of the sort of starting around 90 and ending around 230. This is kind of the upper area. Of course, between all-time highs and 140 mil would be this kind of like ideal zone for this to hit on its next run. 230 is still kind of the upper bounds, and I still believe, truthfully, this is a much bigger than 230 mil project, but this is just for the next leg. We're not talking for that's the top of this project, because I do have stuff marked out here on the billions, right? And I don't remember what we said about that, but I definitely talked about this before, that this project has a lot going for it. The Solana Accelerate, we knew that was happening, and that's a big catalyst for Solana right now. So I do believe that any good catalysts for Solana are going to play well for a project that's going to be, they're focused on becoming a staple and an important piece of the Solana ecosystem for using towards using and making trades for larger whales, right? So that OTC desks, that's generally what they do is they tailor to large transaction sizes so that they can avoid slippage, and in both ways, right? So people selling can avoid nuking the chart, then they take a discount, and the buyers, of course, get a discount. You know, something that makes sense, of course, for both parties, but also for the charts as well. Because if you think about it, right, if you have a guy buying at a discount, it better not be such a great discount that after he buys it, he could just sell into the chart and make money, because that would kind of be a broken sort of system, and we would see this thing get drained, right? So the OTC desk is more just for people trying to get in and out of big positions. That's what it's meant for, and that's what they want to become a staple. Like, one of the reasons that people know the name Citadel is for the OTC desk that tailors to large transactions for any token, not just our one Citadel token, but for all tokens to, you know, and I haven't heard of this. This is mostly a centralized exchange thing that's happening so far. It's not something that's very, you know, common in decentralized. I haven't heard of any decentralized versions of an OTC desk. And Solana, I mean, there's some whales on Solana, so it would definitely benefit not just Citadel, the project, but also all other projects that are using it in many ways, I'm sure. So again, just paying attention to this. The one other thing was Wyckoff accumulation. This is looking very similar. So we're looking at the Wyckoff accumulation and seeing how this is kind of the lower. This is the ST phase B. That's the lowest point it goes to. And then it climbs up and it makes a high, but not higher than the previous high. And then it makes another high over here, but it's lower than this high. Then it sort of grinds itself out, and that's when we see the SOS. This is a higher high than the first high of this low range, right? So, and we can see that exactly on the Citadel chart. So it drops into this lower range. This is kind of the lower range, right? We have our first high that's printed up here, and then it makes a low underneath the range. Then it comes back into the range and it makes a lower high than this first one. It goes down and makes a lower high than the second one, and now we're looking for that push SOS up out of here. So this kind of LPS, that's what it would look like, you know. And once it overtakes this previous high, that's when it'll make this massive move up. That's when I think, again, I believe the next move will kind of lead us into the 4 mil, potentially retest 3 mil, and then send. Or it 4 mil consolidates up at 4 mil and then send. Either way, we're looking at 7 mil as kind of the next target. And that's a pretty good send from here. That's like a 3x plus. So anyways, Citadel, I think I've chatted enough about this. Apex, like I said, I gave you guys the call in the Telegram. If you're not in the Telegram, join in the link in the description. This thing, it looks like it's setting up for another flag right here. Let's draw that a little tighter. So setting up for another little flag right here to push up to this 10 mil range. That'll be like a clean 3x from the calls. It's like a 2x from here, so that's still a good deal right here on Apex. It's still got pretty good volume, 5 mil volume coming through. I think they did get an exchange listing or two. It's still in the top 25 on Dex Screener, so not as much volume as some of the other gainers, but it is doing good. Like, we do have, you know, some gainers. XBT, I know, doubled today. Moon Pig, this one's doing pretty good because of the Win guy, the guy that took the trade on Hyperliquid. What else? Distribute, this thing's been moving pretty good. I don't know really what it's about Retard coin. Wow. Wow. Moo Dang making a good move on the Robinhood announcement. Something else, Mew as well got a Robinhood announcement. I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Mew, yeah, moved up 20%. That's not too big, but I mean it's a pretty big market cap coin. Fart coin, of course, moving up to $1.69. That's a big move for Fart coin. So yeah, I mean this is kind of what we've said. I think we've said it before. If not, we'll say it now, that this is kind of a broad spectrum analysis on the bullishness of altcoins, or sort of meme coins, I would say right now, is looking at Fartcoin, and it's in this like trending up channel, which just looks good, right? It's uber bullish. Okay, this is uber bullish. This is insanely bullish. The way it moved up from 250 to 1.6 bill is better than what it did here. So this looks like it'll continue going. And then once it's all-time high, that's when it's gonna pop off really hard. The fart will expunge, people. Okay, so yeah, lots of things looking good in the trenches. Altcoins, Graphane. Look at that. So this looks really good for Citadel, because it's moving back up. Let's get this off here. So we can see steep, less steep, like basically flat. You could say that's the last sort of steep. And now we're starting to move up. So now what you're going to see is like least steep. Maybe it comes down to test it or whatever, and then more steep. Same as this one, right? You kind of got to just look at that angle. And then you're going to get one of these. That's just going to be crazy. Right? So that's how the trend's going to form. Exact opposite way. And we'll probably see this do a big sort of cuppy thing. Right? And ziggle down before it sends up. But yeah, let's just leave that on there and see how our predictions are. Yeah, because I mean it's happening. It's moving up in May. It's going to really start to accelerate in June, I believe. And then just exponential coming into July. And I think that's, you'll see that very similarly on this chart. Oops. So we had this super steep angle, a less steep angle, and a flat, basically flat angle. And then now we're starting the uptrend, so pretty flat, more serious, and then get super crazy. Something like that. We can leave that on there too. And then again, we'll see this big cuppy sort of thing happen. Squiggle around and fuck off. Alright, so yeah, BTC 110. Oh yeah, we were going to talk about ETH real quick. We can see this, so ETH BTC. Why do I got drawing tools on everything? We can see BTC, ETH BTC is breaking this lower trend. It's trying to, at least, so that it can move up and push and break this farther trend. That's going to be, hopefully the recovery of ETH. But yeah, maybe an inverted head and shoulders down here. So ETH USD has been actually pumping pretty nice, but it still hasn't reclaimed these kind of zones that we were paying attention to. Around the lower, so 2,800 to lower 3,000, 3,200. I would look for it to come back in here before making a really good decision on Ethereum. Because yeah, I mean, Sol ETH, it is starting to look like, is it going to round off or is it going to continue on up? At this point, we're still on a higher low, so that's okay. So BTC, I think, is the one that looks a little bit better. Oh yeah, so we broke that, but then we rejected it, coming for one more test down here. So this still is in play. We want to see it reclaim this yellow line and continue on up from there. But the SOL dominance looking a little bit better, so that's important. That's its dominance over everything. So I mean, I would say SOL BTC, SOL dominance looks really good right now for the next sort of play and push up. There's our marker from Solana. Obviously not as strong as BTC right now. It's not up in its all-time highs, but I think this is what we call the catch-up play. If you guys have been following me for a while now, we talk about the catch-up play, and Solana is going to be the catch-up play. I know a lot of people were saying Sui, including Raul Paul, but like, yeah, I mean, it looks good. Put it that way. Sui looks good. I think it's going to follow our green, but it did have a hack today, and it lost like a shit ton of money. So I mean, that's not the end of the world. But we see this like massive down. It was looking like it was going to break out, and then this hack sort of stuffed the rally. But it's still up here. It still looks good. Maybe lowest it could see is like 350, 348, and then you'd rather not see it get down there, though. To be honest, you'd rather not see it get down there. You'd rather see it break this bull flag that it's creating right here, and sort of continue on up. That would be the ideal situation for Sui. I know XRP is actually looking really good because it's outside this trend. Let's see actually what's Solana doing with that. Do we have one where we've marked that? Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, we're outside it a long time ago because it went so down. It went to 96. Whoever picked up 96, you're definitely laughing right now. We're going to check out totals, and then I'm going to take off. So total, crypto total, consolidating just underneath its all-time highs here. This is where I would actually like to draw this, because that's technically where we're at with the trend line. We want to see it break, and this is actually a good drawing I just did, because it shows that once we break out of here and kind of go towards those all-time highs, we might see some corrections back down before it really sends, but it needs to clear that area to really send, like this white marker we made a while ago. Total 2, this one includes ETH, so that looks nice. That's outside the trend line. So this thing, continuation, big time. And so this one's total 3. This one excludes Ethereum. And that actually did sort of similar to what BTC did. So we have to follow that trend right there. Right, so break up of this 930 billion, clear the 986 billion, and then we're kind of off to the races at that point. 1.13 trillion is really where we want to see this above. But you can see this as being like just a big bull flag, and the inverted head and shoulders is broken out now officially. So it could be doing a bigger one though. This could be sort of the bigger one. Probably more like that. You want to pay attention to your other coins, your other shit coins, because I know there are some big moves happening on a lot of them, including the likes of WIF. Obviously not looking as strong as Fart coin, but things like Doge, like, I mean, these all look like they're primed for the next move here. That one's a little off, but it's still, you know, they're Pepe looks better. Pepe's more like Fart, pretty close to their highs. Ship, haven't looked at this one in a while. This one's got time. I think you got time on a lot of these bigger ones though, so. I know GME had a big move. So GME is actually looking really nice. Let's see if we have one. Do we have one with drawings and shit? No, we don't. Should get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. I got some dead stuff in here I haven't actually cleaned up in a little while. The old Matic Phantom. It's funny how they just rebrand, you know? Anyways, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. Yeah, GME way down in these bottoms though, so it's bouncing on that green line we made long ago. Important green line to stay above, but you can see these sort of trending peaks right here. Want to see that kind of clear, and then over the 0.04 of a cent mark go up. I know Turbo has made a good push from the bottom as well. WorldCoin, what? Crime season's back, baby. I don't know what kind of announcement they would have had, but probably time to pay attention to WorldCoin. You want to see it really recover this $2 sort of area first, but might be worth a trade. Could do an easy 2x from $1.50 to $3. With everything moving up, like, I mean, Moodang, wow. Moodang looks good. There's our markers. Look at that marker. So that's from way back here, right? They act so importantly as resistance points. So we want to see that recover the 35, 350 mil, and then it's going to just send. Moodang's going to send. Sweet BTC. It's this one. Total 3. So this is a different altcoin sort of indicator. Citadel, do we have any markers on here? Yeah. That's kind of, yeah, so look at that, right? I have it marked out for that August shit I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, June, July, it could go up faster. Like I said, GOAT, it's really buried, but it's starting to recover. So good looks down here. AI16Z looks like it's just around where Citadel is, and this is kind of, we're in that ecosystem of the AI16Zs, right? So Farcoin looking the best. We marked this. Set up above here. I gave you guys Farcoin a while ago. Griff, Trump, they all look the same. They look like they're about to break up exponentially. Oh, that's Bitcoin futures. M2 money supply is about to break out. Housecoin, I know, made a big recovery. You gotta look at it more on a 10-hour. There we go. So that was kind of our marker to see it kind of come out of there. Now it looks like it got stuffed, so it might take some more time to recover. We could see this play around here before it recovers more. But yeah, definitely, like, if you're not in-house, worth looking at an entry here pretty soon. A lot of these looking like you could look for an entry soon, so don't get ahead of yourself. Watch BTC dominance. This is important. I forgot to mention it. We'll talk about it really quick right now before I end the stream. We want to see it follow this red path that I have sort of lined up. Whoops. Red path that I have lined up to make it back down to these like under 60% levels. When this move finally plays out, that's when things are going to start looking really good for altcoins. And I mean, it could start sooner than later. So also something to pay attention to is that this move continues down on USDT.D, the dominance of Tether in the system. It is looking good. Like this is that structure that we want to see on BTC dominance as well. We might not see it for a little while. This could continue up to the highs there. But I said I'm not marking them out because I don't believe that it's going to go that high. But if it does, you know, around the 70s, 72s, 73s, 71, around there, it could top. Right? Or it could just go sideways for a while. Who knows? It still looks trending though. So, but yeah, like stonks, looking like they're gonna retest this 200 and then send again. So I mean, they do have a couple bearish days here. The past few days were bearish, but overall they all look good. NAS and NAS especially in Qs. US 30 not as much, but the VIX, important to pay attention to here that, you know, we got under that blue and then we rocketed back up through. That's actually when BTC pumped, right? So Wednesday the 21st of May, that was the day BTC hit all-time high. So volatility is actually good for crypto. So we don't want it too volatile though. So if this continues going on up, then we might see a pullback, but just kind of keep tabs open on this one. It might just have been filling this gap and now it's going back down, right? Because it filled that gap and now it's got another gap down here to fill. So yeah, I think it looks good. Send it lower so that our crypto coins can go higher. Dollar index made a strong bounce, but it rejected it. It's kind of playing around in between these two lower lines that we had marked out. If we see it lose there, again, that's super risk on bullishness. That's all for this one. Like, comment, sub, all that fun jazz. Check out the links in the description, and we'll catch you guys on the next Andy's Crypto.